Welcome to Realm IQ Sessions, featuring conversations on AI with AI founders, AI leaders, and experts from around the globe covering the intersection of media, technology, Hollywood, and marketing. Please give us a follow and subscribe. This is our host, Curt Doty.
Hey there, newbies. How you doing? Yes, it's been a while, and I am going to finish out season 3 here on this beautiful podcast, but with a series of interviews that I find most exciting. The series is called CLOWD Masters. That's CLOWD, like our little film festival, Cloud Film Fest. So we talk with leading AI filmmakers from around the world. Yes, it's all about the Cloud Film Fest now. So these guests are curated either by being one of our many judges, or they are a contestant in the competition, or they're just simply killing it with their own craft out in the industry. So today's interview is we're going to talk to Joni Dobrov. She is a chief creative officer and multidisciplinary visual artist specializing in cinematic brand storytelling, motion design, and scalable creative systems. She co-founded Exact, where she has done some amazing things, and she is working on a new project called Zim that is all over the internet, and it's something to track and watch. But she comes from, traditional background in Hollywood with motion design and working with music videos and all kinds of stuff. And so we share, similar background and all that, which is interesting. But she is one cool cat, and I love this conversation. So let's listen in. Joni Dobrov, how are you? So glad you could come and talk with me in our little podcast here. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Curt. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We're excited to chat today and get to know more about all the things. So,
Yeah, well, certainly interested in knowing about your career and your journey into the AI world from more traditional worlds of, motion design. I come from that as well, but I predate you by, I think, a couple decades, but we won't get into how old I am. Okay, boomer. We'll focus on you. But yeah, we are here to talk about AI. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey from, traditional creative and motion graphics and design, and how you kind of entered this crazy world of AI filmmaking, and, you're doing some incredible work now. It's like, I'd love to hear this evolution story.
yeah, no, definitely. So, for one, again, appreciate you having us today. We're super jazzed at seeing how much common ground and natural alignment we have, especially with some of the ways that I've seen your communication is on LinkedIn, and appreciate the positive feedback on the work. We always, we put a lot of love, a lot of lore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the history is kind of interesting, which I'm sure a lot of different artists rather have a similar story where, you know, the where do I fit question happens pretty naturally, right? And so coming from more of the senior art direction positions that I had with studios out in Los Angeles, right? I found myself feeling like, wow, this tech coming out here and folks that I'm surrounded with, there's two camps, right? There's the absolute no, and then there's the absolute, okay, well, listen, one, it's the common conversation of, well, it's not going to be going anywhere. And two, how can we optimize the way we're using it to help us to be able to make those stories that, as people say over and over, but just true, wouldn't otherwise be able to be made, right? And so I'm sitting here feeling like I've always been such a, folks do call me the visionary. I've got the big ideas. I have ideas for days that are ever flowing, and it's like they're expensive to make, So it's like, okay, well, so to get more of the frame by frame is, for the past 2.5 years, we've cultivated friendships in the States and outside, especially lots of folks in Amsterdam, that just really inspired me with what it is that they were making. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And so we hit the ground running really hard. And so I've learned all the different tools that, no one is rendered equal, of course. And we've also partnered with all sorts of folks that are in that space, and teams, of course, and AI companies. And so we found ourselves like, learning rapid fire and dedicating a full 2 years to the grind. So almost in merging everything that I love from Greek mythology and Slavic mythology to building our own and building out a team around our flagship IP. So it's been really groovy. But right at present, we've started to naturally build out even more communities that have offspring from our original one because of the work we've been putting out, you know? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's been pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of the natural trajectory. So
Okay. Well, it's not natural. We're all forced into something that was thrust upon us 3.5 years ago, actually. And we're just like, our heads are still spinning.
yeah.
And there is a divided camp, certainly in Hollywood. I use the metaphor of a pie, right? And people think they're going to lose their piece of the pie and be replaced by AI.
Mm,
And I've said this a few times, so forgive me if keep repeating it, but there's a whole nother pie and that people are ignoring. There's new jobs that are being created. It's proof positive. You have studios recruiting AI
mhm,
filmmakers into their stable now. You have production and post production teams integrating AI experts within their existing teams. So collaboration continues in a hybrid approach using this technology. So tell me what's wrong with that. What's the negativity of that? This animosity and animus from Hollywood and the unions and stuff is, I think, unfounded because all the job loss that has happened has been through mergers and acquisitions and streamers and just less production going on. There's fewer movies being made.
yeah.
And so, you know, AI, gets the blame for a lot of it, but, unjustifiably. So I
Mhm.
appreciate the fact, that, you and your company kind of jumped in and said, how can we do stuff better with this technology? And you thrived within a new community and built new products and told new stories. And now you're doing, episodic serialized storytelling. I think it's fantastic. So, I hold you up as a great case study of here's someone in Hollywood, comes from it, was a leader in it, and look how they're just embracing it and excelling.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. So tell me about some of the, kind of recent work and projects. Zim, it's just so freaking beautiful that I'd love to hear how that came about and, where you are in it in terms of, the whole development of it and the plans for it. Please elaborate.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you again for the recognizing that it took time to maybe get there, right? And I almost kind of feel like if I wasn't surrounded by the folks that are those pioneer entrepreneurial types, it might have been a different direction entirely, right? So
Hmm.
it's all about kind of like the way your beginnings are with it. And so for me right now, you guessed it, right? The Zim is our flagship IP. We have a team of 12, but the beginnings of the Zim were, I mean, you know, I've had such massive amounts of untold vignettes of stories. So the character based heaviness of it came from all like not only portions of stories from the past, and I'm like, man, I don't even know how I would be able to tell this one. I kind of merged into this one big soup. And so now it's actually become an even more of an exciting project, of course, because we've joined with writers and other artists and folks of all different age ranges too. We've even this is kind of rad as well. My pop was a classics professor at Loyola
Mm.
University, and one of his dearest friends, Hugh Miller, their Dr. Miller philosophy department. I took metaphysics with him back in the day. It was a little over my head. But I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, would you mind consulting on the lore of the Zim? And he
Yeah.
goes, no, that's great. I'd love to. So it's like we have all different, all different ages on the project. So I think that's made it really rich. And so it went from me and all these different characters I want to tell stories about into this kind of mythic sci-fi piece that has grown. And so again, background in design and in advertising and in fashion, I kind of molded it all together into one, right? And so we're very fortunate enough to have folks that are on the producer end, on the business end, on the marketing end, on now we're hunting for the legality. It's like we're it's slowly but surely becoming like forming into serious kind of in a real way, right? But really, where I'm sitting though with the Zim, which is exciting, and I think a lot of different creators can resonate with this, is the question is for a long time was that the chicken or the egg kind of thing. Like okay, yes, the distribution question, yes, versus like how folks feel about AI in these spaces. We don't want the story to just be totally split apart and turn into something totally different. And so we're like, all right, my thoughts now are we have enough of the story. We have 5 seasons at the ready, right? And
It's
we've
crazy.
yeah. Yeah, we've been going pretty hard, but when you see it and you know it, especially as someone that just you almost make it a lifestyle, right? You live in it, kind of like I've been doing for 2 years, 2.5 years, right? And the idea is that I'm sitting here knowing that it's not a matter of if, but when. And I
Mm,
think we have this, as you know, as Nick, our COO, says, right? There's this very unique window right now, right, where
mm,
treat it like these really cool proof pieces that when indeed we do those pitches, which we've kind of started doing with different studios and different folks, right? Is that okay? They're just like a hyperactive notion of how far we can push this. But ultimate goal is we'd love to do the hybrid. We want to work with real actors, do the gray stage thought process, right? Why not?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the Zim is it's we're stoked, we're excited, have like 5,000 page character sheets and briefs and who's with what and when and why and like that I'm kind of the guy that goes that meme where he's like he's looking at the mind map, he's like this is my idea. I'm that guy. So we've got a team that reels it in and makes it make sense to put the building blocks all together. But I'm sitting here feeling like one of my all-time favorite thought processes is something like a Breaking Bad or something like a Better Call Saul or something like a Queen's Gambit. Like from A to B, everything ties together back to one another. And so
Sure.
that's where we're at with the Zim, where I'm finally like, I'm confident to say that it's because, the loose end thing, especially with sci fi, you feel like, well, that didn't, there's not a single moment in this story here that you won't be like, "Oh, they brought it back." So that's kind of where we're at with the Zim. I know I'm jumping around,
No,
but
but
yeah.
that's okay. You speak to really the world building capability
Yeah.
because you've built a world. I mean, it isn't just, hey, here's some crazy sci-fi scenes that have really cool art direction, right? You approach it as world building, and I think that is the opportunity, the speed in which you can build that world, both from a writing perspective, character development, you know the uh, the the mythos of character arcs and legends that happen within that world and how they all tie together like on a mind map, right? It's like, yeah, you could
Yeah.
dwell on this part of the mind map for a while and then go over here, and then all ties together. It's not
Hmm.
unlike the whole Star Wars thing, right? Or Game of Thrones as well. I mean, these are great canons, so to
Hmm.
speak. So, but those weren't I. You're dealing with AI, and
Hmm.
it seems like it's empowered you personally, certainly in new ways, and elevated you to a really cool position of what you're doing. Is there are many people and AI filmmakers who are struggling. We moved from this experimentation phase where
Hmm.
it first launched, even just static imagery on Midjourney, let's say, or ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and then look at all these images, and people were doing memes, and we had to deal with, oh, that stuff is awful, and it kind of seeded the whole AI slop paradigm. But then as the tools matured and AI video started to really take off
Hmm.
in an alarming hockey stick mode, all of a sudden storytellers started to emerge, right? People have said, you know what, I have a story to tell. I'm outside of the studio system. I'm in a, third world country with a laptop and Wi-Fi, and I'm making shit up. It's like, yeah, and posting it on YouTube and get millions of views. It's like, wow, okay. So the storytellers rose. A lot of those people had interesting backgrounds, either from traditional backgrounds as a writer, producer, creative director, designer, DPs, editors. They all kind of jumped in and elevated the narrative storytelling with this powerful tool to a new level where all of a sudden now, poof, there's all these AI film festivals. I think they must outnumber traditional film festivals at this point. And, we're here, promoting our little AI film festival called CLOWD, but we're one of many. We're trying to be a little different, but we're recognizing the fact that all these storytellers were literally birthed all over the world, and which is amazing, right? It's counter to Hollywood. The traditional gatekeeping and suppression of great stories is now liberated through this technology. And all of a sudden, there's these great storytellers from every country. And how exciting is that, right? But
Hmm.
we're still in this phase of, okay, so great, I'm doing all this stuff, can make a film in 2, 4 weeks, 5 months, whatever. But I'm not making any money at it. So where's the monetization, right? That's the
Mhm,
question. And
mhm,
so I think we're at that next phase of, okay, so how do I make money doing this? Do I get recruited into the studio as a AI filmmaker and start working on other people's stories? Uh, or do I continue my path as expressing my stories using the technology and build my own team like you built your own team, an agency to like take that on?
mhm,
So it's this conundrum that's going on with where are you at and where's the money? And one would say, maybe it's in microdramas and evolving microdramas into AI microdramas, which is kind of happening. I think AI production is now exceeding live action production in microdramas. So, and that's
mhm,
monetized. There's a business model, there's a captive audience, it's vertical, it's on
mhm,
the smaller screen, but stories nonetheless, 90 seconds stories, but user behavior, right? If you track the
mhm,
user behavior, track the money, follow the money, that's where opportunity is. But, you know, you're now pitching, right? And you're going out there trying to seek distribution or get and I'm assuming getting a big studio behind it and launching it as the next Breaking Bad, if not better. And if that's hard to believe, but yeah, it could be better. So what's your mindset on that phase that we're in is now the market's matured and now
mhm.
people are chasing the money.
Yeah, I like this question too. We had this reminds me of a meeting we had the other day with a CEO who they're just getting into their second round of seed funding and they have their own platform. And we discussed just this about how the micro drama cycle in China specifically, how in the States here we're a couple beats behind, right? And so if you follow the cycle of what's happening in China or other countries, right, is that on the technical end, it starts to get diluted because so many people are trying to do the same thing, right? They go in thinking there's this, kind of quick cash cowian creative thing. You do micro dramas, you hit a gold mine, boom. Where I'm pretty averse to that as a not as a concept. I think microdramas can be great, right? I mean, especially if you're done well. I'm more so. I mean, you come into the creative just to hope to make a buck. I never operate that way, right? I just it's not in my spirit. But the idea is that in hearing that from our new ally there, as I like to call them, right? I go, wow, that's interesting. So essentially, it just went up and then deflated, meaning like it
Mhm,
had this opportunity. And some of the early folks, they got it right. They got in. They did a
mhm.
thing. But then everyone else that kind of came in second or third, their actual visual became diluted in nature. And even he even said, what did he say? He's like, even faces on some of the main characters started to look the same and just like copying each other. So my whole thoughts are the micro drama space is definitely of interest, and I'm following a couple of accounts here that are really good,
Yeah.
but I'm very curious how much of what it is that they experienced in China actually relates to us at all. Like if that cycle I'm talking about is a thing,
Yeah.
curious. Yeah, and then with respects to, the market itself, well, for one, on our end, speaking plainly with Exact, right? I'm the spearheading the narrative division, but I do oversee brand, right? And what we talk about all the time with our team is the consumer education, right? The client education, okay, so you have a really beautiful campaign here. We're talking to a couple heavy hitter automotive cats, and the idea is that we can extend the lifespan, we can extend the lifespan of one or two campaigns. Now, with respects to narrative, it's like I still am a firm believer. It's just of course, you position it, and you have a cool strategy behind it, but you do the leap of trusting your creative and put it out there in a way that makes sense. And it's not. I believe volume and numbers and millions of followers. Yeah, okay, I understand. But for me, it's the quality, of the different folks, the conversations that spark from those. Like ever since we started putting out stuff with Zim, I think in like just really in the past like week, right? Really kind of putting
Hmm.
in stuff to the ether. We've in total have had about 10,000 eyes on all fronts. But for me, it's like, okay, it was a number, great, okay, it's great. But it's like it's who we've talked to, like yourself,
Yeah.
even, right? It's like the folks, the conversations that have started, the interest, okay. Do you guys want to shoot a couple gray stage setups over here, and then we
Hmm.
could do the movies, or do a trade, or we'll do your trailer, and you do this. It's like we've already started building, like I was saying, those sub categories of alliances and communities and people doing the thing because I almost kind of believe that for me, yeah, of course, Zim, I know that the story itself, I'm gonna be over the moon if we get it as far into the franchise direction as I want to go. But where I'm more so thrilled is one, it's the daily love. Like like truly, you'd be like, I love the journey. I absolutely love the journey, like for real, you know. And what I do know
Yeah.
too is that as we're building this out, I'm going to my groovy little creative rant here, but as we're building this out, it's more so like we're building out the folks that are coming from traditional that are now becoming very serious in the AI space. And there's a warmth to the folks that we've met from Australia, from London,
Yeah.
from Pakistan. It's
Yeah.
like there's a sweetness in this community that I didn't maybe necessarily feel the same way in the kind of the cutthroatian Hollywood thing.
Hollywood community. Yes, believe me. I worked in Hollywood for 25 years and I suffered many daggers in my back. I still have the scars. I eventually laughed because I was like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And let's take a break.
The Cloud Film Fest invites AI filmmakers from around the world to submit their short films to an international competition and festival built for what's next in cinematic storytelling. The Cloud Film Fest will premiere in Southern California the week before LA Tech Week at the Alex Theatre in Glendale, California, for its first annual AI Film Festival event, October 7th and 8th. AI filmmakers who wish to submit their works for consideration should visit cloudfilmfest.com, that's with a W, and at hike.com, that's with 2 I's. So, stop posting and start submitting. The final deadline is August 19th, 2026.
Yeah, so you speak to this community, which I have also found very embracing and warm, as you say, and open to these conversations. That's one reason why I'm having this version of my podcast is having conversations with AI filmmakers because I've been so encouraged by the people that I've met all over the world, and it needs to go beyond each of us commenting on LinkedIn, which is like it's great, but oh my God, we could have a really in-depth conversation like we're having, and then people need to listen to that conversation because it's these conversations that I believe will help guide the future of where this is going, because in mainstream media obviously covers the tech bros, the valuations, the tech bubble, and all these things that really have nothing to do with like what you're creating, right? Which is exciting. It drives you every day. And it's like, okay, people with that passion about this technology, how is that story getting out there? Because that is a freaking great story and people will relate to it just on a passion level, right? It's
Yeah.
infectious, right? And charming. I've been doing, a number of these podcasts this week to try to get them out. And yeah, I'm just amazed at these conversations and how, talked with people in, France and Spain and America here and London today. It's like, it's just incredible, the community and how receptive and responsive it is. And I mean, I'm thriving in it and I'm trying to run a festival within it. And, I'm encouraged at the, uh, participation and support and all that, which is wonderful. I couldn't do it if I was just trying to run a traditional film festival. It's like, yeah, get in line, buddy, right? And so here, we're trying to do something special. So I really appreciate this conversation, and I want to amplify this love, right,
Yeah.
and passion that you have for your projects, and certainly more than a passion project. It's actually, it's commercial and it's world building and all the things that Hollywood should be doing but isn't doing, and you're doing it. You're not asking for permission. You're just
Yeah.
doing it. That's so admirable.
Yeah. And thank you.
So as you work with all these tools, coming from the traditional space, you've likely worn many hats, but focused on creative. What do you think is lacking in this technology at this point? Even though it's rapidly accelerating, there's still some pitfalls. There's still some things that warrant the human touch and human eye and all that. We don't want to lose that. But if you had a message to some of these platform developers, AI platforms, not distribution,
Yeah.
what would you tell them? It's like, what do you miss? What do you want developed? Tell them
Yeah.
what they're missing.
Yeah. This is Also a groovy question because I just came off a meeting today, and when they say we won't give names, but I just got off a meeting with a kind of a tutorial platform overview, right?
Hmm.
Having seen the work, and they're like, all right. And so, first time ever, I'm seeing log. Oh, I'm like, let's log. So, what I'm thinking is for the folks that are building these tools, if there is no one on staff that is a true filmmaker OG, get one or
Yeah.
get a groovy consultant. Because, like you're saying, what is it that our third partner there, it was very heavy in like the coding back end tech of it all, right? It was give it 3 months, 4 months, everything's gonna be this is we're right over the like we're right there, right? And so everything he's predicted has been true so far. So tool wise, if I had to get granular, prior to this groovy tool assessment that or showcase rather that I had today, I would have said just that. I would have said like, okay, 18 or 16 VXR log, like that world, like our post production cat. He wasn't on the meeting, and I texted, I go, you need to jump on this meeting. I was like, they've got the magic sauce, baby. So and what I will say too is that and speaking to folks that are building out their own platforms that relates purely to soundscape and the music, right? Music like that with the punchiness. Audio is like 4 or 5 beats behind, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's the the lip syncing notion, and I'm sitting here still thinking of the Robin Williams genie thing where he's going with him, he's like doing it, and I think that's preferable maybe for the lead. I think like I was saying the hybrid to shoot folks in real time, but for the kind of the maybe even the creature types right in the background
Mhm.
there. Oh yeah, no, I'd love the Robin Williams thought of someone following and going doing the whole their voices. That's okay, but even still, it's like okay, when you're teaching the tool this even if you speak for 10, 30 minutes and you get all the different tonalities and stuff, it's still behind, right? So I think that one is the main highlight I wanted to say today. But the other thing is I feel like what I've done from the beginning, like when Sora or early Sora, RIP.
Yeah. So
But
rest
yeah,
in peace, right?
yeah. Early Sora is that I kind of because it was so bizarre, I riffed off of the weirdness because there was like not nowhere near as much control, right? And so I riffed off the weirdness and offspringed ideas from which. So if I'm thinking purple balloon in the sky, right? Purple balloon, all right. It gives me this like alien lizard with fire. I'm like, okay, instead of a balloon, all right. Well,
Yeah.
and so the idea is I kind of flowed with the tech when it was really early with my storytelling, and then
Good.
I went vroom and refined it, and then, but I do kind of feel like it's better not to fight the tool, and then you, of course, so many folks in the as a building out their own setup down to the pixel perfect of it all. We're in that direction, and we're there as a company. But it is cool sometimes to just treat it like throwing paint on a canvas. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Those happy
Yeah, yeah,
accidents, as Bob Ross would say.
yeah,
Back in
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the experimentation phase, right? Where it's like the
Yeah.
transitions were awkward and the surreal nature of some of this imagery was very bizarre but yet cool. And people exploited that and said, "Oh, I'm a surrealist, and so I'm just doing surrealist music videos. I don't care about narrative, right? Because I'm just making sure your head bops to the beat, and you know, and art is created."
Mhm,
But, now when you're trying to control a narrative and have something believable that people connect to that removes the uncanny valley, and the audiences are going to be the ones that decide, do I believe
mhm,
it? Can I get into this? Am I connecting? And those are story elements. Those are the writing, right? The character arcs, the believability, the emotional draw of what I'm experiencing. And if people connect that way, how it was created falls to the wayside, and you just believe, right?
mhm,
And that's the magic, right? And at the festival here that we're doing, we want to get these stories from YouTube and put them on the big screen. Let the audience decide. It's like
mhm,
here they are on the big screen now. They look gorgeous, different types of stories, different music videos, different narratives, different characters, some very filmic and just photo real. Others are very atmospheric, some are very stylized. And it's like they're all telling stories in a different way. Do you believe it? Do you accept it? Are you not entertained? So the audience will decide, and that will determine, I believe, the success of all these formats. I do believe that animation is really the first to go cinematic because it's already happened. Think about Toy Story and that evolution of people just accepting CG characters that they fall in love with, and that same look can happen with AI. And so that leap that you're asking the audience to make, they've already taken that leap. So what's the story, right? At the end of the day, that people are going to
Definitely.
connect with.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely. And I
what?
almost oh, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Yeah.
no, you go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the Toy Story conversation came up a lot at AI on the lot, right? And see, it's seemingly an obvious thing, but I even remember the Pixar lamp. I was more baby. I remember seeing that and like I cared for the lamp. Like there's no eyes, you know? So yeah, no, so then that's a trip that was brought up just now too, because that's something we've talked about a lot, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean the paradigms are there. So
Yeah.
I believe it'll all be accepted. It just takes time, but it
Mhm.
takes creators and storytellers like yourself to push forward, develop the IP, build the worlds so that when the audience is ready, say, yeah, we got 6 seasons in the can, so
Mhm.
let's go, right? Um, and test what that audience will embrace, and embrace those characters. So, what are some of the other challenges, industry wide, technology wise? You're in the middle of Hollywood, and it's like, there is a divided camp. But do you see hope? Do you see these positive conversations? You know, what are you seeing on the ground there?
Yeah. So again, circling back to our experience at AI on the lot, every studio co-founder that we chatted with that either came from traditional or had formed their own in the midst of traditional or what have you, and us showing the material and the way we think and just, how we communicate what it is that we're making. Absolute full green light excitement on how can we help. Now with the contacts that I have that are like very, very again also OG traditional that have their own that are not there's some majority I'm thinking on my reference are out of the states, right?
Hmm.
There's an That's an interesting conversation where they're very anti AI, but they look at our work and they go, well, no, you're using it right though. I'm like, well, I mean, the idea is just because I've figured out some of the more technical tricks and advancements and have put blood, sweat, and tears into the setup. There are folks that have beautiful stories that they might not have like maybe the same amount of folks helping. They might not have the same team. They might not have the same designer. So it's kind of like, you're right. So okay, so right. So if it's not technically right, then they don't have then they shouldn't. But I know I'm jumping around, but what I'm getting at is it's just a matter of time, I think. And for folks that do have those glorious stories that are so rich and so unique in their cultures, no matter where they're from, if they themselves have trouble getting the tool, let's say they do want to do hyperrealism, quote,
Hmm.
then it's getting their script or going to festivals and networking like the one, of course, that you guys have, and just meeting the right folks and building. We by osmosis just kind of built out a team, right? And so I'm almost kind of feeling like again I'm kind of bouncing around, but I feel the two camps at one point, the one that was very anti was significantly larger. Now, if I can be bold to say, at least in my baby bubble of my life, it feels a bit even.
Mm. Okay.
And I think different social platforms have carried different acceptance rates, quote.
Hmm.
But I'm also feeling like if you do a paper trail on the gung ho cats that are very anti, especially on like the Instagram, Facebookian types, you do a paper trail, it's like they don't there's no understanding of the tool and how arduous some of these processes are as a storytelling tool at this point. So to hate something to understand, well, that's the oldest story in the book for a human being. we
Yeah.
we
Right.
fear what we don't understand, you know. So
Right, and that's ignorance, right? There are ignorant people that will dwell on the sensation of tearing people down versus really reach out with a handshake and a conversation and try to reach some type of understanding and education of yourself to be empathetic with the cause. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously that needs to happen politically in our country. I don't want to go there, but
Yeah.
in this creative community, that same thing needs to happen. And you know, and through these conversations like you and I are having, the light bulbs pop off because people realize, oh my God, she comes from a traditional background, and she isn't just this AI hack that somehow has this new position. It's like, no, she's like the real deal, and she's embraced it. And so why am I not embracing it? And the way, that this intelligent conversation happens about process and
Mhm.
creative process and the enigma of creativity, trying to keep that, but embracing the new technology and being a little weird is okay. And uh, in terms of yeah, embracing these crazy accidents that happen, you go, well, that's kind of cool. Other times there's these aha moments of, I say like, holy shit, with one prompt, I got something. It's like, holy shit, you just can't believe it. And then you have to
Yeah.
work hard to get some other results. But, I appreciate the fact that you are optimistic. You're in it to win it. And I admire that a lot. As we kind of get on to our closing of our conversation here, is there any updates or ways in which people can reach out to you? I want to, give you a platform in order to connect with other budding AI filmmakers and other executives so that they know exactly what you're doing, what you're about. Because I'm fascinated and I have loved this conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like the best resource, of course, would be kind of the direct connective tissues through the website, of which we spruce up constantly because, like in the world of AI, you have to keep up. You gotta, it's constantly sprucing. But as we do wrap, there's one thing I did want to admit and say to the folks that are listening that are either on the fence or hesitant or don't know where do I fit, as I say, right? I want to give an honest paper trail that I had folks around me that were already far into the space, and it was intimidating. You know, it's kind of like anything else. I remember thinking back to like joining a cross country late into the season, right? Everyone's like, "Ooh, going so fast," and I'm like, "How am I going to catch up?" Right? But then you catch up, you get hella fast, and then you realize, wow, I naturally have like such camaraderie with folks. And it's not just about the winning of the race. It's like, it's the daily excitement with the folks you're working with, right? Like that has to be half the battle, if not more, right? So I
Yeah.
think for folks that are feeling that way, just know the community around this, like we said many times, but it's true, they're really warm and everyone's trying to figure it out. And there's no, the gatekeeping cats. I mean, there's always going to be those characters, but realistically, a lot of us out here, including myself, if you have an interest to learn like a certain technique or this, we've almost explored almost all of them at this point, and so we're very warm as a company and as a community to kind of offer that insight, So, yeah,
Well, and thank you. Thank you for people like you. And I believe that people like you, true creatives that are helping guide this process and innovation through your development of your own IP, you're going to take this all to the next level. And, it's because of people like you. It isn't the tech builders, right? They're just building tools. They don't really know the result of what they're building. They're just looking at possibilities and not really understanding, the creative potential, right? They're saying, well, yeah, just making it look more realistic. But then, you get creatives in there. It's like, well, I don't want it to be realistic. I want it to be like, it looks like a believable, weathered person, not a perfect person, but, a character, right? That you feel you can identify with, and so, so thank you for all that you're doing. And I appreciate you being on this podcast and best of luck to you. Hope to see you at the festival in October and we can talk about that later. But thanks again. I really appreciate your insight and thoughts.
yeah. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you.
Hey, all of you out there, thanks so much for catching these really cool special edition interviews of CLOWD Masters. We hope you find these interesting. I certainly have. And speaking of the CLOWD Film Fest, submissions are closing August 19th and judging will begin. So stay tuned on the public voting aspect of the competition, and because that'll be taking place on the Rad TV platform. In fact, you can go there right now and subscribe to the CLOWD Film Fest channel to get a head start. If you have an AI film you want to submit there are 2 links in this post. One goes to our website, cloudfilmfest.com, and our submission site, which is hike.com with 2 I's. I have 2 I's as well. Our event is developing very nicely in the fall with panel discussions, screenings of all the finalists, and an award show, and networking opportunities abound. And it takes place at the Alex Theater in Glendale, California, my birthplace, by the way. It's a beautiful 100-year-old movie palace that is just freaking gorgeous. I recently visited and saw all the renovations they've been working on for years. And so check out the Alex at thealex.com website. And a special shout out to Miles Williams, who's the artistic director there, and his whole team, who are doing a fabulous job of supporting us in our efforts with the Cloud Film Fest. So passes will be on sale soon. And if we don't see you in SoCal in October, check out the next CLOWD Master premiere. Take care.
To learn more about Cloud Film Fest, visit cloudfilmfest.com. That's cloud with a W.
Subscribe to our Media Slam newsletter and learn more about the intersection of design, content, and technology.
CurtDoty.co. Branding, marketing, and product development.